This is Bits and Bobs with Kits and Bits and your host Lynette Delane.
It's about more than just the trades, really. That's trades, and construction and mining is what we think of when we think safety and risk, but it's the same for some person sitting at home with their laptop.
That's exactly right. Exactly right.
So what type of things do I need to have in place if I want to put in a tender?
Yeah. Now, basically speaking, I've had companies come to me, small businesses, and say, oh goodness, we're putting in for a tender with a council or with a larger company, and they say to me, we want all these things, and it's like it's foreign to them. I need an OHS policy, I need training records, I need to have a manual to say that I do things safely.
Decision matrix.
What does this mean? I don't understand.
Yes.
What it is that company is actually trying to figure out whether or not you take safety seriously. They generally, a good company will not want to take on a liability.
And certainly the government won't.
That's exactly right. If you want to go for any local, state government type contracts, you can get it unless you've got a system in place to ensure that you actually do follow health and safety legislation. But some of the things that they would look at is, first of all, obviously, what sort of insurances you've got. Have you got your liability insurance, and does it give you enough coverage for the type of business that you do? Do you have work cover insurance if you've got employees? Do you have any subcontractors? And what information have you actually got from them to show that they're doing things safely? Have you got training records? Have you got OHS procedures? Have you got an incident reporting and investigation procedure? All these things that they will ask you for. If you don't have them in place, they won't consider you. They just will not consider you. A lot of the companies nowadays will send you out a big questionnaire, and you need to provide all the answers, but you also need to provide evidence of all these different things that they will need to ensure that you do have safety in your business. So this applies not only to big businesses, it applies to small businesses too. And even sole traders, if your business could, or your work could affect any of their employees or the public, then again, you will need to produce these sorts of documents.
And it's so much easier if it's just part of your practice, isn't it? Than trying to just go, oh, we've got a tender, we've got to try and do it all at once.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's much easier if you've actually thought about it and put it together.
For sure.
And, as you're doing it, as you're starting your business, start to think about some of those things and what you need.
Exactly.
So what are the minimum legislative requirements? Obviously, you're in Victoria, I'm in Western Australia. Obviously, there's state-based stuff, but there's also just some common practices, isn't there?
Yes. Look, there are state-based stuff, but in all real terms, the legislation across Australia really is it was evolved on Victorian's legislation, basically. So it's very much similar with some different versions and wording, etc. But at the end of the day, basically what you need to do is provide a safe working environment, safe systems of work, equipment in safe condition, and information, instruction, training and supervision, and of course have insurance for your employees, either workers' compensation or work cover type insurance. So that's a very general description, but that's really what you need to do as an employer.
Right, okay.
So as a business owner, you have legal responsibilities to implement health and safety practices in your workplace as soon as you start your business. You need to ensure that your business doesn't create health and safety problems for your employees, contractors, volunteers, visitors, customers, or the public. Knowing and understanding health and safety laws and how they apply to your business will help unnecessary costs and damage to your business caused by workplace injury and illness. It does cost money to implement safety. We understand that. And a lot of people complain about the paperwork and it's all common sense, and I understand all of that. But at the end of the day, It is a legal requirement, and we need to put it in practice.
Right.
One of the other things that we really need to do, and this again is a legal requirement, is consult.
Yeah. Okay.
Consultation is incredibly important, and as I mentioned, it is a legal requirement.
Right. So we can't just go and do it ourselves.
Oh, no. So as the owner of the business, I can't just set off and say, okay, I've got to write up this safe work procedure, or I've got to write up this new policy or whatever, and not involve the people that actually work with me.
Right, okay.
I must share that information with them.
Yep.
And I must, and these are all like legislation, I must get their feedback on that. So I must give them some time to actually look at what I'm proposing and say, well, okay, does this fit with what we can do?
Is it possible?
Can we do it better?
Yep.
You know, can we do it better?
Yep.
So if say I'm writing up a safe work procedure, now I don't know, as an employer generally, I don't know what my employees are actually doing, like step for step. I probably don't know what they're doing.
And if you do, you're a micromanager, and probably shouldn't be watching this anyway.
Oh dear. So if I write down a procedure, a safe working procedure for you, it is so unlikely that I'm going to write down step for step exactly what you need to do safely. So that's where I rely on the people that are actually doing that work and saying to me, Karen, this is the way we do it. And then Karen might say to them, well, okay, that's the way you do it. Have you thought about doing this? Or have you thought about, and could this work, and could we perhaps do this differently? So you have to get that two-way conversation going to actually work out a safe and a safe and a better way to do something and have some ownership.
Particularly if your sites change as well, like if your location changes, your employers are going to have a much better indication of what those changes are than you are.
Exactly. So it is incredibly important, and yes, it is legislated, but I would say above and beyond that, it's good practice.
Absolutely.
Your
well, I mean, you were saying, it costs money to put these in place, but it costs money if they're not in place, doesn't it?
Well, that's exactly right. And I mean, apart from potential injuries and insurances, rising, etc. If you're not doing these things, you've also got that scary bit of prosecution, fines, undertakings where you've got to go out and do work for the community or something that is required or agreed to that you might have to do for the next 2 years. There are so many things that and you have to pay for those things. So none of this is cheap, but it's a lot cheaper if you have these processes in place. And apart from all else, it's your business reputation.
Absolutely. And these days with social media, that is not worth getting wrong, is it?
Exactly. And a lot of when you do an offence with health and safety, a lot of the time you're actually told you must advertise. You must advertise the fact that you did something wrong.
Right, okay, so that's like the safety recalls and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, the amusement park up in Queensland, the terrible incident that happened there, the one at Arthur Seat. Again, all of this, not only is it the media reporting on it, but there are times where the company, if they're found responsible for what's happened, will have to advertise that they are very sorry if this occurred, or something along those lines. So it does terrible damage to your reputation.
Just not worth getting it wrong.
Definitely not.
Certainly the one thing in your business you should actually spend some time and money on.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining me for Bits and Bobs, an interview series for new business owners looking to avoid the pitfalls that we who have gone before have either already fallen into and climbed out of, or managed to skip over altogether. Please subscribe and watch other episodes where I, along with other business owners, dive into some less talked about and sometimes tough subjects, highlighting some of those I wish I had known topics so that you can get your business going faster and easier. You can find my guest details in the show notes or on my website, kitsandbits.com.au.